What is happening, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Guys in the comments, thank you very much already. I appreciate the epic comments. Much appreciated. And Dradikit, $10 super chat for I even started. You're amazing. Thank you, buddy. Much appreciated. So today's talk, I want to talk about kind of burnout in the hobby. I know there was in the Facebook group, there was a kind of a discussion about it and it kind of sparked it. And I know I've been there and a lot of other people have been there. And there comes a point, I mean, any hobby happens where you get burnt out, you know, too much stuff's going on and, you know, life gets crazy and you're going to hit that wall at some point, right? So what's going on, Nate, Ash, Lisa, Robert Woods, TMG, Duradicate, Sandy D, PJ Goblin. We got Vicky. What else we got in the chat? How is everybody doing today? Hopefully amazing. There is the Hangout link if anyone wants to join the Hangouts today. Trying a different system, so hopefully it should all work. What's going on, Falcon Quick? So, as for kind of people burning out in the hobby, there's two different ends of the spectrum that I've found. And one of them's either if someone's having an issue, if, you know, your tank's overrun by algae or something like that's happening. It could be one of those things where you're just fed up with it, you're mad, you want to give up, your tank's not looking as good as you want. That's one end of the spectrum. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it could be someone that's, you find it too easy and you get bored with it, right? And that's the other kind of thing. So, you know, you've been in the hobby a long time, you're like, it's no big deal. Or the other time, because in the summers, I find most people tend to quit the hobby, or, you know, life gets crazy, life gets busy, and then maybe you don't want to spend time on your tank, you know, stuff gets neglected. So there's all these kind of different aspects of it. What's going on, Jamie? What's going on, TMG? Hop on, my opinion. Welcome, Unknown Reefer. How's it going today? Go big or go different. Oh, yeah, so one of the most common things that popped up for people of getting over that hump, they're like, start a new tank, which definitely does help. For me, the build of it is one of the fun parts. I love the build. The build is awesome. And even like Rev 2, the tank that's coming up soon, I'm getting excited for it. What's going on, 5280? So new tanks never hurts. And then that's always kind of a exciting way to do it. So another thing too, at certain points, if I find on the higher level reefer spectrum, I guess, if people find it's too easy, then that's kind of one thing that can discourage them, because there's no challenge anymore, right? So people want a challenge, people want to, you know, to keep them interested, to keep them involved in it. And that's one thing that I kind of feel happens a fair amount, enough that I've seen it on multiple places and different things. Now, so yeah, more tanks, that's one of the things. Now that can be a double-edged sword, because you're like, oh, I need something exciting again, let's start another tank. But now on the flip side, if you have too many tanks on the go, that also means it takes more of your time and more of your effort. So if you're spending a lot of time, you know, dealing with tanks or maintenance and different things, then that can be something that takes away from the hobby at a certain point, right? Like at a certain point, it's no big deal. But eventually, if you have too many tanks, you know, you're spending too much of your life working on it, that can be something that discourages and turns people off from it. So that's another kind of interesting bit. What's going on, TMG? Welcome. Another thing. Hey. Another thing, some people also find, you know, they can overcomplicate the hobby. So everyone likes the shiny equipment syndrome. We get something new and, oh, we want to get our new toy on the tank. You know, eventually every inch of your stand is packed with equipment, is packed with all kinds of reactors and different things. So on the flip side of stuff, I mean, you can get kind of overrun with too much stuff going on and it complicates it. So there's a few different aspects. What's going on, Michael? What's going on, Mass? Welcome, guys. But yeah, for me, honestly, I love the build. The build is one of the funnest parts. So yeah, so too much work. Another thing that I find that tends to interfere with people's love of the hobby at some point is not having your spells buy-in. So if you're spending all your time on your tank and your significant other is not feeling the love, maybe you need to dedicate more time to them or get them involved with you, right? Because if you know, they find your tank's taken over, they're like, oh, you're obsessed with your tank, you know, you're not spending time with other stuff. So I mean, there's all kinds of different things that come out of it. So on that aspect, I think it is wise thing to get your significant other, your spouse, whoever involved with you. You know, take them to the pet store with you. You know, get them to pick out fish, get them to help you scape it or different ideas. Try and get them involved, right? Because then they have that personal buy-in. And then if you get them to, you know, bring them to a convention or show with you, like different things to get them involved with you. And then that's going to be a different kind of avenue of helping them stay involved. And it's going to be less of that kind of resentment of you spending all your time on the tank and not with them. You know, so it's just different aspects like that. Now on the flip side, the more kind of, I guess, negative or daunting, whatever side, if someone, to get them out of the hobby to an extent, if they have your tank's overrun with algae or something, right? That's one of the biggest things that probably discourage people. So if your tank's not looking good, you're not going to be as happy with it. So there's certain things you can do to prevent that. So ideally, prevention is by far the biggest thing, right? It's much easier to prevent something than deal with it afterwards. Now, if you're at that point, I mean, there's some people I've seen tanks that are completely overrun with algae, and that can be very discouraging to people. You know, that's the point where lots of people are like, oh, I'm done, shut down the tank, blah, blah, blah. One thing that I have seen that works is, you know, the guy every week he took out a different rock and douse, you know, manually remove what you can and douse the whole thing in peroxide. After like a month or two of this, it completely, you know, cleared it all up and the tank was looking good again. Yeah, so people get discouraged, especially when stuff dies. Exactly, Nate. So I mean, it's always depressing. You get a new fish, something, if it bites the dust, it's sad, right? Especially once you've attached to them. It's so fun. That's a big tank behind me there. So this is kind of one thing that's another discouraging. On the flip side, yeah, so too much work. So too many tanks, that can be too much work. I've always liked the idea of linking systems together. Corals dying, that can be another big one, at least for me in the past. About a year and a half-ish ago. It was November-ish, not the last one, but the one before that. I had a time when like almost all my SPS were dying on me. Like literally is this STNing, RTNing. I was like so depressed. I was at the point I'm like, nope, not buying any more SPS. I'm only buying softies from now. I'm done, whatever. Like, so, you know, I've had that all myself. I would just, you know, you feel like your tank is crap, all your corals are dying, it's depressing. And now it's one of those things where, you know, I stuck through it and now my tank looks awesome. You know, everything's growing like crazy and crusting. It comes again. So it's definitely this wall that I find a lot of people hit at some point in their reefing career. And this isn't just reefing, right? It's anything. It happens in saltwater, it happens in pretty much any hobby out there. There's the hangout if anyone wants to jump on. So it's interesting. Put my music back on, it quit on me. There you go. Subtle background music. So yeah, the other thing is too, what we mentioned earlier, overcomplicating things. If you have, you know, shiny thing syndrome, like I know I do, and you want to try out 8 bazillion different things, you come to the point where you look at your tank and you have so much stuff on it. You're like, what the heck is this rat nest of wires? What is all this equipment? What is it even for? You know, you forget we even got down there. And I've seen tanks like this. Like, you go in there and it's literally like a rat's nest. I'm like, what is that for? He's like, I don't know. Can't remember what that is. It's like... So it definitely does happen. And, you know, if you overcomplicate it too much, then it becomes overwhelming at some point. So there's definitely something nice to keep it simple. Nathan, when stuff dies, research for an answer draws me closer to the hobby. So for me, one thing too, that the always learning part of the hobby is one thing that I find really fun. Like, I love the fact that you can never know it all. Like, there is so much. It's like a whole nother world, the ocean and everything underwater. So always learning. I personally, I like the challenge of learning new things and trying new things. Or, you know, people say this is a very difficult fish or coral. I'm like, yeah, I'm up for the challenge. Like, that's kind of one part that I find fun about it. Another difficulty I've been running into is the lack of local community. Reef tanks are far and few between where I live. That is a bit harder. I probably have about 2 buddies locally that I hang out with once in a while. And so it does help to have that locally. But honestly, like YouTube streams and stuff like this, like, you know, I get my fix from talking to you guys online. You know, kind of somewhat for me makes up from the lack of local stuff. I mean, it's nice to have local people to, you know, trade stories with, or if you need something, you can swap with them and trading corals. But at least for the communication and talking out stuff, the online thing has helped for me, at least for the lack of local stuff. So Sandy, that's my problem. I'm an equipment junkie, gonna try and keep my next build simple. So even on mine, like I've actually taken off a bunch of equipment. Like if you look under my stand right now, it's a lot cleaner than it was. So I'm trying to scale it down a bit and have less stuff underneath there. But on the flip side, I still like to experiment, so stuff comes and goes. Slightly unrelated topic, I have a really cool thing I'm gonna try, and I may build it this weekend, so it may be Monday's video. But I might try doing a self-sustaining pod slash phytoculture that auto doses to the tank a couple times a day or something. So that might be cool. So it's one of my projects and it could be interesting. Have fun with it. But yeah, no, definitely overcomplicating your tank can make it harder. Now the other thing is too that I find is, for me, automating makes things a lot simpler. There is definitely times where if I'm out of town for work, or if I'm out of town for like a show or something, you're not there to feed the tank, you're not there to necessarily deal with everything. Now can be, if there's too much, it's a lot harder for a tank sitter. And you know, if you don't have time, you're not around for a little bit to deal with water changes and different things, that could be, you know, harder if you let your tank go too much. And I know especially in the summertime, lots of people are busy, their tanks tend to get neglected. I find this hobby very, very seasonal. Like for instance, I posted a coral for sale in the summer. It's like nothing, it's like crickets. You post in the winter, there's like 5 people straight away. Like in the winter, everyone's inside their house, they're paying attention to your tanks. You know, the tank gets lots of love. Summertime, you're out and about outside, you're not in the house very much, and your tank definitely gets a lot more neglected. So, what's going on, Click Like Reefs? The facts about the hobby. I know here I'll get burned out. But yeah, no, I find like a lot of people tend to go through those different waves of, you know, you're excited, you love it, then you're like, oh, why'd I go through all this work? And then you're back to I love it again. Like, it's definitely waves. What's going on? A couple more people joined the Hangouts. How are you guys doing?
Yo, you okay?
Excellent. How's it going, Mr. Michael?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Just trying to find that perfect music track, and it's not that easy.
Yes, I have that battle often. So how about you? Have you hit the wall of being burnt out in the hobby at some point?
Oh, you ever watch my channel? At least every 6 months.
Nice.
But no, yeah, I as we all know, I get bored very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already sort of like scratching around a little bit with the big tank at the moment, but it's lucky really that the big tank has just took a little bit of a swing for the better, which has sort of like stimulated me again to keep it running and not mess about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've got to learn myself to just, when I get that urge to go, ooh, let's shut this tank down and let's do something new. Get my wrist out and go, no.
Yep.
I'm the same right now because, Dev, you might not know, but I'm always on the fence contemplating upgrading.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I've heard this a lot lately.
Okay, and literally the only thing I can do to stop myself, it's not that I'm discontent with my tank or I'm bored. I literally have to come home every day and go, wow, what a nice piece of furniture.
Mm-hmm.
I can't look at it as an object. Like, I can't look at it as a toy anymore. Like, I'm just looking at it like, wow, that's a nice piece of furniture. And it puts me in the mind state like, all right, you don't always go out and get a new couch when you're just kind of like used to this couch, do you? Like, you know? Like,
the secret's to
so
just find a nice piece of coral once in a while. Because you're like, yes,
yeah,
good one.
I'm actually slowing down on that too. It's just like, it's just, I just have to resist now, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's quite the opposite. It's like, how do I stop indulging?
That's fair.
You know,
it when things are going well, definitely. But like, for instance, the example I gave earlier, like probably it's like a year and a half ago-ish, when like all my whole tank was freaking STNing, RTNing. I was like so depressed. I'm like, I'm done with this. You know, I'm only buying softies and Gorgonians from now on, and yada yada yada. And now you look at my tank and it's full of SPS again. It's all happy and crusting. I mean, so it was definitely there. Like, and even like one of my buddies, same thing. He's like, he had some ick issue. A bunch of his fish died. He's like, I'm done. I don't care. Shut down the tank. And now you look at his tank now, and it was beautiful and gorgeous because he stuck through it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That's where I'm at the moment. You know, obviously I had the parameter swing with the phosphates and stuff, and it's sort of like, why am I putting myself through this all the time? You know, what do I do this for? What am I doing it for?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I've got a frigging huge tank in the room which takes up all of the room. I can't do anything in there because I'm on floorboards. You
Mhm.
know, that tank weighs over a ton, and I'm on floorboards, and there's like a little like void below this floor, so there's a little cellar. So it's like I can't do stuff in this room. Like I'm scared of getting multiple people in here just in case the floor goes through. You know, I'm thinking to myself, you know, should I do some exercises in this room? And then I'm thinking if I start doing star jumps and stuff like that, is flipping, am I going to go through the floor? You know, all of these things. I'm thinking, what am I doing it for?
Yeah.
Why do I have this big daft tank? And why do I think? And I'm like, oh, wow. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
then stuff like what's happening now, when you look at the corals, you see how big and fluffy and
Mhm.
bright and everything. And you look at it and you realize for the next 30 minutes, you're going to be looking at it and you're not going to move. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you think to yourself, that's why I do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Face up against
Just
the
30
glass.
minutes. Just 30 minutes, Mike.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm getting older, my knees start to hurt.
Nice.
See, that's the next project.
Mhm.
Make your stand, you know, seating height. make your stand seating height.
Nah.
Yeah.
He's gonna have
No,
to
because my
build a high
stand's
stool, a high chair.
it's thingy height because this fucking computer.
Michael, question for you. So, is your real wife interested in the wife tank?
Mm.
No, no
No,
interest.
she's not in the hobby in the slightest.
Does she like it though?
she-
Like, does she walk by and be like,
No.
"Oh, this is nice," or she's just like, "Ah, whatever."
No, she, especially like I said, because it's so big, she'd be a lot happier if it wasn't here. You know what I mean? I have caught her looking at it now and then, and she notices if something's off.
Yeah.
So she clearly does look at it. She just doesn't look at it when I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's she does clearly look.
She sneaks a peek.
But no, she's not. You know, like she engages with me just for the sake of, you know,
Supporting you.
engaging with
Support.
me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
You know,
nice.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
That's
very important to have your spouse have some kind of a buy-in.
Empathy.
Yeah.
They have empathy towards us.
I think everyone should let their spouse pick out a fish and some coral. So that way when they're seeing the tank and, you know, they get to, or let them name it, you know, it's good to have that connection so that they have some investment. And I was laughing a couple weeks ago. I was doing something on the tank and she was like calling something by its technical name. She looked at me. She's like, "What have you done to me?" I just cracked up laughing. It's great.
yeah, no, I'm one of those where, you know, she, like I said, she thing is, and she knows she's starting to pick up certain things. You know, she's starting to pick up the lingo with certain things. So,
Mhm.
you know, and she's like, saying things like, you know, "Oh my god, I can't believe I know what this is," or "I can't believe I know what that is." And I'm like, "Oh, I love you."
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is one of those where she tolerates it because she knows it makes me happy, but you know, and also as well, she tolerates it because I've stuck with it. Whereas there's been many hobbies in the past where, you know, 6 months, a year, I'm done, I'm out, I'm changing my hobby. You know what I mean? And I've stuck with this one. It keeps me out of trouble as well. Keeps me in the house. So she'll tolerate this one.
No, that's promising. So how about you, Curious?
good.
Have you ever hit that wall of issues or
Oh my god. I was
multiple
dreading the
times?
question.
How long have you got?
So many.
Yeah.
So many, especially when there's trolls.
Yes.
You're like, you know, to hell with this. I'm done teaching.
Yeah, especially you try and be helpful and you're
I'm
getting
done with this, you know, this hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you get to a point where, you know that you've succeeded, right? Or, you know, in your eyes or your opinion, that you succeeded in keeping stuff and coloring up stuff better than a lot of people, you know, the majority.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, well, what else is there?
Yeah.
And that's and so instead of giving up the hobby, what I've done is you know, Julie and we've expanded, you know, to environmental protection and stuff like that, you know, try to
That's a good way to do it.
remediate a lot of the stuff, you know, and then, you know, show people, you know, this is what we can do, this is what we have done, you know, we did have a couple of I want to say practice tanks,
Yeah.
or experimental tanks,
Mm-hmm.
where we would show what certain thing to a certain growth pattern
Mm-hmm.
or coloration, coloration rendition, so that we would be able to pull out, even more color, if it's there, if that pigment's there.
Yep.
So
Nice.
it's, instead of doing it to the entire system, do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where multiple systems do come in handy. Um, I know that, and in order to mix it up, sometimes, we call, instead of just reefing, we also do fresh water. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And we jump back and forth. I know that
Okay.
myself and a couple of the guys that I reef with, you guys probably know them.
Mm-hmm.
That we do dabble in the freshwater side. We also have other hobbies like cooking and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Reefing is just part of it.
Now, do you ever find, just out of curiosity, if anyone's like this, do you ever find you have too many hobbies?
No.
No. I've
and if I do, I'm not going to admit it.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Like the way that people collect corals, I collect hobbies.
Yeah, I've had many times where I'm just like, I don't have free time just because you got too many things on the go. Like it's just constantly too many hobbies, too many things. I don't know. Not that I don't like it, but
but when you have kids,
Hmm.
now you have all of that to share with them.
Fair.
All of that,
That's
and you could teach them about every single one of them.
a good
They
perspective.
become very, very well rounded.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that when you start having kids, you're going to say, wow, I know a lot about a lot, and I could teach. I could teach them.
Mhm.
What I know, and if they like it, great. If they don't, there's another hobby.
Yep. Now, so question for you, Cruz. Now, the other side of it I find is
Mhm.
when eventually you kind of get good at it keeping saltwater tanks and it becomes
Mhm.
pretty easy and it takes a lot of the challenge out of it. Do you
Mhm.
find yourself trying more difficult or different things that you never would consider in the past just to like up the ante or challenge for yourself? Like maybe, keeping difficult fish or corals that usually don't make it and stuff like that?
What we would do is, once again, we'd go back to coloration and form
Mm-hmm.
and see how we could control it. The
Yep.
control part, I mean, anyone can grow a tree, it's, like a little small tree, but when you talk about bonsai, it's all about control of the form.
Mm-hmm.
So we've tried doing that with branching acropora, some of the SPS, and trying to make them grow the way that we want them to grow,
Mm-hmm.
which is, interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
we have we have some that like look really, really gnarly. I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
We tried curling,
Mm-hmm.
basically turning the coral around and around, until it actually has, like a hook shape,
Mm-hmm.
on the branch, or like a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look right.
On my one rock with Monty, I have moved it once in a while so that the plating starts to grow at funky angles just for fun.
But you know what I'm talking about. Like
Mm.
sometimes you get a good shape, like like when you breed certain dogs together,
Mm-hmm.
and you get like either a deformity or a deformity called dog, or you get a nice looking one that's rare. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where the whole origami of this hobby is basically you try different things. You try raising up certain levels, you try slowing it down, slowing the growth without affecting coloration. I think that control isn't prevalent in the hobby yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Like once you get to a certain point in your tank where it just looks picture perfect,
Mm-hmm.
how can you slow it down?
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to step on the gas pedal. They don't know how to hit the brakes,
No, exactly.
and they don't know how to slow it down.
And once your tank is filled in, you don't necessarily want all your corals growing into each other and causing chaos, right?
Correct, because not all of us are into fragging,
Mm-hmm.
fragging our display tank and trying to sell, corals for money.
Yep.
We just enjoy it because of the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to learn how to slow things down as well without affecting your coloration or the form.
Yep.
How do you do that? A lot of little tips and tricks. So it keeps that portion of it exciting.
Mm-hmm.
and then of course trying to find that gem. That's always a hunt, to find the next best thing, to find the most colorful coral. um, you know and we talk and we exchange notes. A lot of the coral collectors, private, or or Indonesia, Australia, or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
we know a lot of the collectors. So we're asking them, have you seen this? And it might be that white unicorn. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
The white unicorn with wings
Mm-hmm.
now. And and so yeah, it becomes an egg hunt for us as well,
Mm-hmm.
and for them. Keeps it
Lately,
challenging.
yeah, lately I've been experimenting more with lighting to an extent where, like if you have it in a lower light, like maybe it will encrust, and higher light it will branch upwards, certain corals, or
Hmm.
playing with different kind of PAR and DLI where like just recently like I lowered my overall intensity, but then I picked 2 or 3 hours of the day where I cranked it up an extra 20%. Like just playing with different things to see how it affects color and growth. So
Hmm.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's
I mean, that's the excitement, though. That's part of the
mm-hmm.
hobby, is that it wasn't defined. No
Mm-hmm.
two tanks are defined the same when it comes down to all the parameters.
Yep.
You know.
But yeah, so for myself now, I find it's kind of
Hmm.
like aside from my STN RTNing chaos, which made me want to
Hmm.
quit SPS for a while. But now I love them again, and now it's to the stage where it's experimenting and just seeing how you can play with them by playing with lighting and different trace
Hmm.
elements and stuff, and see how it affects them. So it's kind of at the experimenting stage for me now, which is
Yep.
kind of a fun place to
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah.
And
Like
I mean, Elegant Corals also, took on the part of, trying to teach some of the newer hobbyists too.
Mm-hmm.
We're going out, we're consulting, we're going out, to help the local LFSs. We're trying to, take, do our part in environmental conservation.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
you
cool.
get to run, I mean, you get to run across a lot of these people who are passionate about nature, but then we're like, well, here's, here's our example of nature in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And then teach them how we've done things,
Mm-hmm.
and if we could actually replicate it in nature.
Yep.
Can we increase this, can we decrease that?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes down to pollution. It's one of the biggest things that's affecting
Mm-hmm.
it's just brainstorming, throwing ideas out to a lot of these scholars over there at Stanford and USC, and really talking to some of the professors and getting some of their students or their grad students to actually do some dissertations, or do some scientific work on it.
Oh, that's a cool way to do
Keep
it.
some
Keeps
yeah.
them busy, gives you some scientific research on some cool ideas that you come up with.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What's going on, Jeff?
Absolutely. And it
Yep.
keeps us busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keeps us really, really busy.
Yep.
what's going on, man?
Not too much. How you doing?
Oh,
Hey, Jeff.
busy.
Yep.
Hey, what's up, Cruz?
So, have you ever hit the reefing wall, Jeff? I know you've done lots
No.
of big crazy tanks and moves.
Yeah, I would say that this past month has been definitely a wall hitting experience. That's why I wanted to hop on, is because sorry, there's something going by here.
Yep.
Let me mute for a second.
No problem.
Hey, what's up,
I'm
guys?
just gonna. Hey,
Yeah.
what's going on, Ash? I was
Hey,
just gonna
Ash.
jump in there right quick.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't reached that point yet, right? I'm still on that getting there point,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mhm.
suffered burnout. Remember, I think I've actually mentioned it, the whole ick thing. I got burnt out really fast,
Mm-hmm.
almost got out, and thankfully, I think for me it was almost the same thing as like the successes started, the little things, just
Mm-hmm.
keeping things healthy, and then things were are growing.
Yep.
And getting to that point for me is what did it, right? That kept me in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still think about, doing the piano guy from Sesame Street, banging his head, oh, I'll never get it, like, and then you get that little success that keeps you
Yeah.
in it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Just that little one is all you needed. That, okay, I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep working on it. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
you can burn out on just getting there, right? Just getting to that point, I think, can burn you out pretty quick.
Yeah. To
For
me,
sure.
the couple things, at least for starting in the first year of the hobby, right? Your tank's overran with algae. You lose a bunch of fish due to ick or something else. Or, you a bunch of corals die. Like, it seems to be like one of those big heavy hitters in the first year. Reefer Jeeves, 499 Super Chat. Always interesting topics of information. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Much appreciated, buddy. Thank you. So Jeff, sorry, what were you saying before you got sirened out?
Yeah. So I don't know if you all have followed my channel or not, but I mean, I've got 500-gallon display, and I spent better part of a year trenching through my yard, built this huge, fish room setup, and there's probably very few people who have gone as deep into their hobby as I have with this
Mm-hmm.
setup. And I spent a year developing the system, and overnight, literally, I mean, I packed this thing out with corals, and it's been all good, and getting crazy growth on all my SPS, everything's doing good, and then overnight, I start having corals die, and everything I can test for as a hobbyist, perfectly in line. I sent off Triton tests, and 10 was the only thing that came back high, but there's no definitive proof that actually kills corals. So really, I just have this mystery die off, and I've done everything I can do on my level to like. There's zero reason it should have happened, and so I still don't have any clue why. But 800 or 900 gallons of water changes later, I'm finally stabled out. But I don't know. After investing so much money, so much time, and just your soul, like when you
Blood, sweat, and
I
tears,
don't
buddy.
yeah, like I don't do moderation well. And so like some people, their hobby is compartmentalized. I can't compartmentalize that well. And so I think that's obvious in my setup. Like I go all in. And so when you invest that much of yourself into building something, and then for reasons you can understand, like it all kind of goes wrong. It was really discouraging. Like I didn't like watch YouTube videos there for a few weeks, didn't get on live streams. I just like anything to do with a fish tank. It just gave me a bad feel just because I was so frustrated with my tank. And I don't know, like there for a couple weeks, I was trying to do water changes and just kind of hang on to it without everything dying off. But I don't know, now that things are getting back under control, I'm seeing the flip side of things, and it had kind of almost gotten to a boring point just because it's all set up, all the construction's done, and I'm just sitting watching stuff grow. But now it's like this hobby will always humble you, because no matter how long you've done this, no matter what equipment and safeguards you have, we don't understand how this ecosystem works really. And we know the basics, but there's always elements that we can't understand or control. And so in that way, you can never actually master this hobby. And so I don't know if I'll ever figure out why I lost so much coral, but part of that on the flip side of it now is like I'm back into the hobby a lot more than I was before. And so I don't know, like I don't know, like if I had just had like a BioCube or something,
It had been
and
done.
like it would be in a dumpster right now probably. But yeah, it definitely, like even people who go so far in as I have, burnout's really, it's going to happen no matter what. But like Cruz was saying, like there's different things you can do to kind of reignite that spark, or I don't know, whatever. But it definitely happens for sure. But it's not a permanent thing, I don't think. If you truly enjoy the hobby, it won't be permanent.
It's temporary, and yeah, same thing, like exact same as you when I had mine. It's because like half my SPS were just RTNing, STNing, and they're all just like biting the dust like daily. It was so depressing. I'm just like, wow, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm only buying softies, and then like 3 months later, I got back in SPS, and now they're all happy again. But I feel you. It sucks to go through it.
Yeah,
You know what?
I mean, that's why I think like fighting the urge to constantly upgrade and add is very important, because I think you give yourself more room in between your tank, like for your tank to evolve, if you get what I'm saying. Like so like when you hold out on like adding new equipment or adding this, you know what I mean? I think it kind of like extends the longevity of your like attention span. So you know what I mean? Like you have people that upgrade stuff like every 3 months. If you could like kind of hold that out for a year, you'll still get that same fulfillment. But now you just added like a year to that, like to your interest in your tank.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like the minute you start getting bored, like tackle that thing that probably
tackle that shiny new toy syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Like go back and think about like what was that shiny object I always wanted. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I know exactly like how I think I want to stay. You know what I mean?
Interested.
Stay
Yep.
interested, and my whole thing is just like honestly, I have a maximum tank size I know I kind of want.
Mm-hmm.
Like not a forever home tank size, but just like like the 120 area. And from then it's probably just going to be adding on like maybe like a display fuge, and then like maybe like a seahorse tank or something. Like I'm honestly just going to plumb
Mm-hmm.
things in, like, and that's how I already like have it in my head. It's just like plumbing
Uh-huh.
tanks into other rooms, and maybe like what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's very long
Yep.
term. So like that's definitely kind of like how I
So,
plan to do it, but who knows if I could actually stick to that plan. That's
so
I
different.
could definitely see that because I added my bubble tip tank, almost a year now, and I did it because I got bored. I wanted to do something else. Recently I've added quarantine tanks to my setup. They're not plumbed into
Mm-hmm.
anything, but it's still something new. If I get real bored, I'll try to figure out something I can add to my Apex. So,
mm-hmm.
I try to throw things at myself to where it may be a little bit more difficult to tackle, so I get more interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
If someone tells me I can't do something, I try to do it because you just told me I can't. So
Challenge
I do
accepted.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
Now, see,
challenge
you,
myself.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you want to have those little challenges if you just went gun ho from the beginning and set up a quarantine tank and got all the modules for Apex that they had. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you would have probably been burnt out already, So that's
So
good.
now two other aspects on that. One I find like I love the DIY, all those type of projects make me happy and makes life easier. And then when you want it, if you're busy, neglect your tank for a bit. That's not the end of the world because it can sustain itself. So on the flip side of that, with so having that equipment can
Mm-hmm.
alleviate that need at your crazy points in life. Um, I had another really good point, but it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck was I gonna say? Anyways, yeah, the DIY though, like a lot of these random projects I come up with, that's another big chunk. It kind of keeps you interested in creating something new. Like
Yeah.
the one I thought up
See,
today.
but
Oh, sorry.
I mean, you're also designing your new system, your
Yeah,
next
that
system
that
too.
helps.
You're
I'm fearing the
yeah.
transfer and swap, but aside from that, that's building a new tank's always fun.
I think one other thing that
Yep.
Serenity just brought up that I guess I really haven't thought about it that much, but because he's talking about like going gung ho and buying all the Apex stuff, buying everything up front. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I kind of did that, or I pretty much did do that, but there's still a few things that I want to add on. But as he was saying that, it made me think something else to remember is that like everybody, like it's a common thing that everyone is going to go through, no matter how basic, how extreme your setup is, or how
Elaborate.
new or
Yep.
old you are. Like
I
it's as because your talk, Devin, kind of shows that everybody is going to experience that burnout at some point, and
Mm-hmm.
just in a moment, just remember that you're not the only one who's been there. We've
Mm-hmm.
all been there, and we're all still in the hobby,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, just know that there
yeah,
is
I
light at
think
the end of the fish tunnel.
I
One.
I I, I would second. I would second that exact same sentiments brought up by Ajibs. It's so damn right. No matter how much modifications and upgrades and DIYs you do, you eventually is going to come to that point that okay, what's next? And
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
the answer to that what's next is the root cause why we hit the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
I myself started
Mm-hmm.
in 2012 with a 90 gallon first, and within 4 months, I upgraded to 150. And then, it was all
Mm-hmm.
fun and dime when setting up the tank. And, eventually, at first, I started with softies, LPS, killed a lot of corals on the way, and then eventually within last 2 years was able to keep all the SPS high end, low end, grow them out, frag them.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I think when you get really you are close to a wall is when you start fragging your corals. If
Yes.
because that's when you know that you have achieved the success, as Cruz mentioned, that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people struggle to grow corals. Now you are fragging them, and that's where is the, I think, the 11th hour, just before the clock hits the
Hmm.
midnight. And
Fair.
that's exactly what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I tore my tank down in February because I'm like, okay, I'm coming home, taking care of the same corals, fragging them, giving it away. Literally, I was giving it away for free because even though I had a frag tank, and the frag tank was plumbed together with my main tank, so the work was all automated, no problem whatsoever. So there was no challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, where does it go, right? I did the basement sump. That's one thing that excited me. So I plumbed my sump into the basement. You guys all saw my sump as well. And I'm like, okay, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? And there was nothing next after that. So I was like, you know what? Time's up. Pack it up, set it up. And then what I ventured into is the all-in-one tank, which actually takes a lot of less work on your part and more towards enjoying the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So sometimes people do go into the now. Having said that, that kept me into the hobby. You never know.
Yeah.
Down the road, I could always venture back and buy
Yeah.
myself a nice red sea reefer. But sometimes you need to take that break, and no matter how many
Yeah.
gadgets, or no matter what you come up with, you eventually will
Hmm.
get bored out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nope.
And you have to find that comfortable size. I know that a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger." But if you're not
That's a
comfortable with
very
it,
very yeah, Cruz. You know what? That's a very good point you brought, because people always say bigger is better, go big, go big. But eventually, when you get a 200 or a 300-gallon tank, and within 6 months you realize, oh my God, I gotta do water change. Oh my God, my water is evaporating this much, and all. It's a lot of
yep,
work.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of sacrifice too, a lot of sacrifice.
Yep. Well, the other thing you got to consider too is, a bigger tank is also more expensive, right? All the power,
Hmm.
extra pumps, extra heaters, all that
Hmm.
stuff. Now, a couple
Yep.
things. When I posted my live stream in a couple of Facebook groups earlier, a couple of comments actually I thought were good ones to bring up. One of the guys was saying he would buys his equipment for the tank he wants, not the tank he has. That way, when he does upgrade later, he doesn't necessarily have to rebuy all that stuff. And then one of the other comments that I found was a good one, where he's like, nope. He goes, yeah. He goes, life got in the way and kids, and it shut down my tank. He's like, 2 months, no big deal. Third month, he's like, I missed it. I want a tank again. So,
Hmm.
once you get hooked, I mean, I think you always kind of have that reef bug in you.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I don't know how you find like you're okay, like you basically like you're satisfied, and maybe it's just something like ingrained in all of us that are in the hobby, like it draws the same type of like addictive personality a bit.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, like from having a 500-gallon tank, I still, I'm somewhat satisfied, but I still like, I'm like, man, if I had, another 2 feet here or there, like it's never enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think at some point you've got to like figure out how to be satisfied with what you got, which is so hard, especially not tank size so much, but all the equipment. I mean, like I watch Reefing with like that dude, he goes through as much stuff as I do, and I thought that would be hard to attain for someone else to buy as much
Mm-hmm.
tech junk as me. But like it's just there's different aspects of what people enjoy, but it's so hard to be satisfied with what you have and not always looking to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question, Jeff. Do you ever look at your tank as a piece of furniture?
What do you mean?
Because like I have like this is just an interesting concept that when you start viewing your tank as a piece of furniture, it kind of takes that edge to upgrade and like maybe I should go bigger. Maybe I should go bigger because you don't say that with your couch and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying like if you view it more as like a fixture in your home, you won't be as like tempted to
Yeah,
upgrade? Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
No, I haven't, but I mean, because especially with our new house we're in, like the tank is a centerpiece in that room, and
yeah.
so it really is like a piece of furniture, and it's probably a good way to look at it. I haven't thought about it that way, but
Because somebody mentioned that to me, and that's how been able to stay at like whatever they're at. They just look at it as a piece of furniture. They're constantly inviting people over to their house just to kind of like, you know, somebody comes in like, oh, you got nice glass. Like, no, it's like, I got nice tank, you know? And that's
True.
their like reassurance is people from the outside are just so wowed by it. It's kind of like,
Right.
why should I change anything? You know, that's what he does, you know? So he's
Yeah.
like, you could go to his house at like 1 a.m. just so you could, you know, stroke his ego. Like it doesn't matter. So
I like
it was a mental shift for him, you know. But
yeah, when you can actually view it as like part of your home instead of just a project to tinker with, then yeah, you do look at it different. It's a good point.
Yeah. I consider my tank like my living room art, my live art.
Yeah, it really is.
I consider it like a universe that I control.
Yeah, you are the god of that universe.
You have the god
Exactly.
complex.
Yep.
I do, and I perfectly admit it. You know, I see this as a universe, and I even go as far as, you know, adding different pieces of life to it, and then looking at them under a microscope. I mean, I got issues. I ain't gonna lie, but
no, I think we all have. Anybody in this hobby has a god complex, because I've said it to myself many times. Like I go up to my tank, I look at it, and I'm just like, I put you there.
Exactly. I can fight this whole world in a
Exactly.
Hey, it's all right, biz.
Like you died because you jumped.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Keep your
I
issues
provided a world, and you left it.
Exactly.
My wife's father said that when he was over. He's just like, you're like their god. I'm like, good point. When I originally thought about that. Yeah.
Dev probably like took that compliment in the humblest way a human being could. Good point.
It's like, yes, I guess I do control everything. But yeah, no.
I'm sitting here laughing about that. It's like which show? Live, die. Oh, Malcolm in the Middle with the little kid in the army. Live, die. And he flicks.
Yeah. But it is true though. I mean, you do control everything in that box. You know, you put everything in, you take everything out. You know, you feed them, you add the coral. It is, I don't know, my living room art in a weird way, I guess I consider it. I don't know if I call it furniture, but living room art's kind of.
Yeah, I see it as art too. You know, it's art that is constantly in movement. It's constantly changing. You know, it's yeah. That's another good way to look at it. Is art.
Yep. You know, it's ever evolving as corals grow. It fills in. You know, it just gets nicer and nicer over time. You know, providing you're not just an algae tank, but.
It takes a while to get to that point, though.
It does.
I think at first you don't think of it like that. At first, you almost think of it more like a job, work.
Yeah.
But I think after, you know, I think it's past that first year or two.
I think,
you know, especially the second or third year, really.
I think a year and a half is the mark. Ish. Like that's the point where your tank becomes stable. You get over a lot of these hurdles. You know, can ease up on, say, water changes or testing all the time. Like, it's a lot of work at first, right? And then you hit that point where your tank sustains itself for the most part, and you don't necessarily have to do as much work to keep it. You know, it's the ecosystem evolves enough to kind of keep itself stable. So I don't know. To me, I feel like a year and a half of a tank is that kind of point. I'm sure it's different for everyone, every tank, but it seems to be around there until it hits that magical happy place.
Until it crashes.
See, I've never had a tank crash. I've had a tank crack. That was depressing.
Yeah,
that was very depressing.
That would make me cry.
Yep.
I haven't had one. Well, I did when I first moved in this house, and I got my 180. I moved from a 75, and when I moved everything over here, within a month it all crashed. Because I rushed the move.
Yeah,
I rushed the move though, so I know why it happened. I know not to do that again. This is the first time I ever moved a larger tank. So.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Luckily, I've never had that, but I've been lucky. So no, other than that 30-gallon, 24-gallon tank cracking, there's been no mass of that, and then my one SPS massacre. Aside from that, it's no huge issues. I guess my nano's full of bubble algae right now. That sucks. But
hey, Devin.
Yep.
Side note: did that was it a yellow millie that you bought? Was it a millie that was that yellow coral?
I have a yellow sponge. Oh, that yellow coral. I don't know what it is. They didn't know the name of it. Somebody.
Did it make it?
Yeah, it's still alive.
Okay. Has it retained its yellow color?
It's not quite as yellow, but it's still yellowish.
After that video, I looked into it because you know, I hadn't seen a yellow coral either.
Yeah.
Or an SPS. But it was just talking about mainly like typically that means they're like stressed and about to die kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't know if yours had made it or not.
It is. I posted a photo of it, and I think somebody on Instagram said what it was called. I'm just looking to see if it's still in there. But yeah, no, it's not as yellow. It's a little more of a greeny yellow, but it's still yellow. It's more yellow than anything else. So far, so good.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yep. Yeah, I'll snap a picture later for you. Thought I posted one, maybe I didn't. I posted it somewhere and somebody told me what it was actually called, or what they think it was. CJ, how's the nano challenge going? My nano's great. I added 2 more fish to the nano the other day. I added ruby red dragonette, little pod eater.
Cute.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I added tail spot blenny, super cool little tiny blenny. And I added 2 emerald crabs to battle the bubble algae. That's my latest additions.
See, I'm a newer reefer, and that's what's causing my burnout. Is all this stuff keeps dying in my nano thing.
Yeah, one of my SPS died. One of them turned white on me, but.
Well, my fish, the coral, I'm fine with so far. The fish is the problem. I had a little bit of coral die off. That's probably because I wasn't quite ready for SPS yet. A couple little cheap pieces I got, but I had gotten a little tail spot blending, like you said, cool, awesome. Went out of town for a weekend. Came back, he had gotten himself stuck in the overflow where he was sucked against the glass.
Oh no.
You know, and then had the Rainford's goby died, got killed by a 6-line. Got rid of the 6-line. Flasher wrasse, put him in the tank, went under the sand, never reappeared. Put a lawnmower blenny in, he died after about 3 weeks.
That's depressing. That's a lot of little guys disappearing.
And sounds like you need a new LFS.
Cool. No, it's not. I don't think it's the LFS because his stuff is pretty good. But like the algae blenny, the tail spot was mechanical. You know, he got himself stuck. The Rainford's goby was my fault. I put a 6-line in there. He was fine at first, and after about a week, he decided to go Ted Bundy and kill everything in the tank.
My flasher wrasse gets a little nippy whenever I add something new at first. Like any new crab, he's in there like right up there, like almost want to take the odd like warning nip at him or something, and then he goes away.
He was the last thing in the tank.
Yeah.
The flasher wrasse, yeah, I got him from the LFS. He went and hit him.
I've never had a 6-line. Everyone always says they're buggers and punks and stuff, so I've never ever bothered getting one. I don't know if you watched the video that I did of Brad's tank. His is a freaking potbelly. That he says that thing. He says it was like, you know, starving when he got it. Like belly was inwards. Now he says it's the only pod eater. All it does is eat pods all day long. It's just like huge.
The flasher wrasse.
Oh no, my buddy's 6-line. It doesn't know when to stop. It just eats nonstop.
Oh, see, mine was doing fine, other than one all of a sudden snapped after about a week and had the clownfish pinned down by the gill plate.
Really, eh?
And then the algae blenny, he starved, but it wasn't from lack of algae. And I even put nori in there, and I even put nori on a rock, you know, and sunk it to the bottom. But every time he'd walk in the room, he'd go hide for 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, really,
he
eh?
Just was
didn't like
stressed, wasn't eating. Yeah, didn't like seeing people. I mean, in the tanks on the other side of the room, you know, 15 feet away. But if he saw any kind of movement, he'd go hide.
Skittish.
Yep. And then I just put a yellow-headed jawfish in about a week ago, and I haven't seen him since. He went and hid under the sand and nothing. And I've got a tight-fitting lid, so I know it's not that.
Like, on that note, like when I added, like I've had wrasses, I've added them to the tank, and I didn't see them for a week or 2, and they just hid in the sand, and now they're out all the time. But they just take a while to, depends how long it's been, obviously, but.
That flasher wrasse has been 2.5 months.
Oh yeah, he's probably gone.
He's gone.
I miss. Hey, Dev, how you doing?
Hey, Reefing though, how are you?
Yo.
I'm good. I'm good. I think I've had leopard wrasses that were missing for like a month or more.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's how I ended up with three. I bought one, thought he was gone, bought another one like a couple weeks later, thought he was gone, and
Mm-hmm.
then bought a third. And then just one day, my wife said, "Hey, did you buy a new fish?" We just had three leopard wrasses just out and about swimming with each other.
That
So
exact thing happened with my Melanaris.
Mm-hmm.
I came home one day, I was just like, whoa, I got two. It took like 3 weeks for the other one to come out, but I mean, he died eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But
they
yeah,
they were skinny, but they were very skinny. Looked like they were underfed. But I I've read somewhere that sometimes leopard wrasses are one of those fish that just take time to kind of get acclimated to your schedule because even when they were out during the day, even when I add a leopard wrasse now and you watch it, sometimes he'll start his day later until they slowly get on your light schedule. So it could be one of those fish where maybe I got it when wherever I was buying it,
Mm-hmm.
they just came from maybe the South Pacific or wherever those wrasses are, and it was just on a completely different night schedule. So when he was out, he would be at night.
Yeah. Opposite schedule, eh?
Hmm.
Since we are talking about wrasses, let me add you something here. I know a guy here, Dave. You might have heard candy corals. Uh, they sell corals, exotic corals and fishes. He gets all sorts of exotic stuff
Mm-hmm.
in Brampton, Ontario, and
Okay. Just
he's
looking them
my
up.
friend. Yeah, he's my friend from back home in India.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm setting up, my tank, you guys already know the new one, and I wanted to add just wrasses in this tank,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke to him to get me some really exotic wrasses,
Yeah.
and it came from him. He said it to me very honestly. He's like, Ash, I can get you $300 $400 a wrasse, which is really exotic and all that kind of stuff, beautiful looking. But I'm gonna be very honest to you. These wrasses, their lifespan does not survive too long, and eventually they will succumb. And I am telling you, based on a seller. I mean, for him, it's money, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he openly told me that all the exotic wrasses stay away from them because uh, they will eventually succumb. Their lives, because the way how they are in the wild is they all, they want live food constantly, no matter what, right? How much brine shrimp and mysis and frozen food and pellets we feed them, they still require the live food to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And in our glass boxes, no matter what you do, no matter how matured your system is, you still will not be able to provide that. And he's actually basing it on his own experience, who has two 400-gallon frac system, and he keeps all these wrasses for people that buy from him, or
Mm-hmm.
they ask him to order from the collectors. And he has kept some wrasses, and they died. He says, like, just recently he lost another wrasse. I forgot the name. That was like $700, and I'm
Ooh,
like,
ouch. Those
wow.
was it Lenardi Rasses, I think they are? That
You
were
got the, yeah,
oh,
Leonard. I was going for
those are
that. You're
beautiful ones.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Lenardi. So and he gets them. He gets them. He sells them here, and he wanted to keep two of them. So
Mm-hmm.
he the first one died. He got another one in this shipment.
Relax, buds.
The second one died as well in 7 months. And he's like, I'm done with glasses,
Mm-hmm.
And then he's the one who's suggesting me which ones to buy. Which, there is a one that I don't remember the name right now. I have to go through my cell phone. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful as well, and it survives. So things like yellow chorus and this kind of stuff, even if they, I mean, those guys survive. Their survivability is much higher, just like clownfishes.
Mm-hmm.
But the higher end you go, you are risking a lot of risk in terms of their lifespan and your wallet as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is very expensive too if they don't make it very long, which is no fun. For me, I'd rather have stuff, something pretty that you can have for years and years and years. But yeah, the
Like
one
corals.
yeah, exactly. Hey, corals can live forever. Technically.
And the prices.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, the prices, yeah, prices are all over the place. Prices on corals are one interesting thing, you know, like the whole like supply and demand. Like some new one comes out, it's like hundreds of dollars, and then a couple years later, you can actually afford it, and it's like a decent price. But supply and demand, like anything. So a couple of people asking if leave the moonlights on. My lights fade down. I don't 100% turn. I do 100% turn them off at night. They don't have moonlights all night. I just have like a 4-hour ramp down, so super slow, low blue time. For top on, yes, I do leave a top on. Not always. Like my top's probably off right now. I'll probably put on at nighttime, but for the most part, I leave it on. I had my trigger fish, if the lights, like I've knocked the power bar or something and the lights like flash, and he'll get spooked and jump, and he's jumped twice on me now. And I had one other, my cleaner wrasse has jumped 4 times. Each time I picked him up and put him back in the tank, and he's been fine. He's been licked by the dog and covered in hair, and he's friggin' Terminator. But so after these a few things, I've learned to just leave the top on. But yeah, my cleaner wrasse is called Terminator because he's a survivor and a half.
Here's the name of the wrasse that he suggested. It's an Aussie lineated super male.
Oh, lineata. Yep.
Yeah, super male.
Yeah, that's an expensive wrasse.
I have no idea what that is. I have to look it up. What is it called?
Aussie lineatus, Lineatus. Super male.
So that just means that he crossed over.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful run, and the survivability of this one is much higher than the another high-end wrasses.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I ordered one of this one.
Ah, very nice. Hopefully, it does well for you. It's a pretty fish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Dev, I'm going to hop off, go cook dinner, but good talking, everybody.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for hopping on, Jeff.
All right, likewise, Jeff.
You got it. Have a good night.
Take care.
Good night, buddy.
You too.
So are you in Ontario?
Yeah, I'm in Mississauga.
Ah, nice. So question for you. Canadian Reef Show, Reef Expo, are you going to it?
Yes, I am.
I guess I will see you there then.
Are you going to the London Frac Festival?
No, I'm going to the Reef Expo one in August or September.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, sure. I'll meet you up there.
Excellent. Come say hi.
Yeah, for sure. Why not, right? It's always good to meet. Yeah, we got to have this expos quite often here. I'm working with a couple of guys here to try and see if we can have this thing quite often here.
Nice. No, that'd be awesome. It's nice to see more shows pop up. I wish there was more closer and local to me, but yeah, it's good.
Where are you from?
I'm in Kelowna, BC.
Oh, okay.
West Coast-ish.
West Coast-ish. Oh, okay. Nice.
So, Dev.
Yes.
I got a question. So,
Ask
are
away.
you upgrading because you yourself have hit that wall, or are you upgrading because
okay,
for upgrade's sake?
This was not an upgrade. This was not a planned upgrade. Basically, on my tank, I got like low iron Starfire glass, and there's a bit of like a hazy line across the whole front panel of my tank, and it's not terrible. If you're looking top down, you don't notice it, but if you're looking down, sitting on the couch, you can see it, and it's always bugged me. And it seems to be a bit worse. When I upgraded my lights, when I had the Radeon Gen 3s, I had the narrow lenses on. It didn't hit the glass as much, so it was very subtle, and it's like, oh, whatever. I upgraded my lights, now with the Gen 4s, they have better spread, and so it hits more of the glass, and it stands out a bit more, so it bugs me. So I contacted the tank builder, and they said they would replace the glass through warranty. They're like, it's less work to build you a new tank than it is to buff it out. So they're going to build me a new tank. So this is what started the whole thing. Normally I wouldn't. I love my tank. I'm completely happy with it minus that. So huge props to the tank builder. I mean, a year and a half later, 2 years later, they're still like standing behind their work and stuff. Like huge props. Like very impressed with them. So that's basically what sparked it. I'm like, hey, it's going to be a lot of work because especially if the tank's going in the same spot, it's going to be a ton of work to take everything out, move the new tank in, move it all back in. So I'm like, if I'm going through all this work, I might as well sneak in a small upgrade, right? So my current plan is basically I'm just trying to plan out what all to change, but it's going to be about 4 inches taller, 4 or 5 inches wider, which is probably about 60 gallons more. So it's just, it's a mini upgrade, even though it's actually a lot, but just because that bit of length and height difference. So that's the whole reason I'm doing it. It's not like I need or necessarily want a big upgrade. It's just that if I'm going through all the effort of doing this big transfer, I might as well, right? I think it's going to cost me like $200 difference to pay for the extra glass to do this upgrade versus him just replacing the glass as is.
So. What size are you going for?
It's gonna be approximately 6'1", 6'2" end to end, about 5 inches or so. That will be the overflow. So 5'7", 8", whatever that works out to. I'm thinking 25 wide and 22 tall.
Okay.
Yeah. So very similar to mine, literally about 5 inches wider, 4 inches taller. The stand currently is 36. I'm thinking about doing it 34, so I'm going 4 inches total height higher, and then dropping the stand down 2 inches. My sump, I'm going to change the sump because I want to get rid of the filter stock and try one of those filter rollers. So I'm going to probably do a new sump design. And the stand, obviously I'll need a new stand, so that's going to be a few $100. So I'm basically just going to sell my tank for whatever it cost me to upgrade it. That's kind of my plan.
Nice.
So
Nice.
so it shouldn't cost me much for the upgrade. It's going to cost me a bit of money, obviously, just for like the wood inside to redo like my panels and all that, and then whatever I skin the stand in with. So it'll cost me a little bit, but overall it shouldn't cost me too much to do the upgrade. So I'm kind of trying to plan it that way.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I'm planning to go for a reef, a Red Sea.
Oh, nice.
Red Sea reefer. Either 650 or 750.
They're beautiful tanks, and I probably would have went for one of those, like the Peninsula, if they would have had it when I built my tank, but they didn't come out with those until like a year later.
Yeah.
And now I'm already committed, and then it wouldn't make sense to buy one now when I have basically a free tank coming. So
makes sense.
Okay, Ryan's asking, do the filter rollers start to smell? I've been told no. Jeff Daily Reefing, who was on earlier, has 2 of them on his, and I asked him as well as like multiple other people, and all of them say it's not an issue. I had the exact same concern when I was looking into them.
All right, guys. On that note, I'll check out. Time to go have some dinner as well.
Sounds good.
All right. So
thanks, Ash.
Take care, Cruz. Yeah, take care, everybody. Take care, guys. Good night.
Yep.
See you, bud.
See ya.
Thanks. So Dr. Welsh, I've had red velvet, but my 6-line killed your McCoskers. Oh, that's no good. Velvet is one I've never had, but it's a nasty one if you do get it. So definitely, thankfully never had that. I've had, 1 or 2 fish with itch back in the day, ick, but that's about it. I've been lucky on that. I'm like paranoid when I buy fish, so like I'll sit there and stare at them for a while and look for all the signs, like no cloudiness of the eyes, no spots, make sure they're eating, swimming normally, just like watch them for a while, and just it goes a long way. Just stare at the fish for a while and just really look hard and make sure there's no little issues or anything before you buy it. Just be more preventative. So Mr. Seymour, haven't heard from you in a little bit. So curious about you. Have you had the reefing wall at any points in your hobby? If you're still there right now?
Reefing wall.
Yes. Have you ever at a point where you're like, oh, I'm done with this, and then like a month later you're back in it and you love the hobby again?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it happens all the time, but that's when you go messing with stuff. And I'm really trying to stop that. That's when you go like, oh, let me change a skimmer or change a pump, or you start to act stuff that you don't really need. Just but I've learned, especially the last 6 months, I've learned to kind of leave things alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to leave things alone and not mess around with stuff. I was looking at old videos of when I was running my tank last June, and I had an awesome tank last June, and then I started messing with stuff. I think I hit a wall, and then I started messing with stuff, and it just snowballed to different changes from there. And so I think I've hit the just short answer, yes, I think I've hit the wall a few times.
Yep.
And then I tend to go messing with equipment and stuff, but I am trying to stop doing it.
That's fair. I mean, I've said this many times, but like the secret is stability, and I've learned this. And messing with stuff too much is going to cause issues in your tank. I used to do like review videos for a store, and I was constantly testing and changing stuff in my tank, and my tank just wasn't happy from all the changes. And it's something that I noticed over time, right? So stability does go a long way in keeping your tank happy and keeping things looking good. So
Yeah, I'll probably, probably if I get bored, I'll probably try a frag or something I've never tried before. But no, I think I'm pretty much done in terms of equipment changes. I think that's it for me.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I mean,
My
I
wife.
mean, yeah. Every time that they come out with some newer technology, newer lighting and stuff like that, I know that Julian and I freaking pick it up and play around with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You have to see what what all the hype is about. Yeah. I mean, and then try to see what it does to the corals that we already know what halides do to them. You know what I'm saying? And see how it affects it.
Yep.
That keeps it exciting.
So here's a question for you. So at Elegance Corals, do you guys have a standard lighting, or is there a different light on every tank to see how they compare?
For the majority of it, we have a standard. That's basically the 14 and 12.5K halides. And then we also run the XHO Reef Brights on those. So we found a nice, happy growth light and color up light. And that's between the 12.5 and the 14. So yeah, we've played around with it. On some of the testing tanks, yeah, we do have like an armature where we could actually just hang up different lights, and we'd take a couple of frags from, this system, that system, this system, put it in there and see how they actually grow.
Yeah.
And we'd wait a good couple of weeks, for that observational, science.
Now, do you think a couple of weeks is enough to show something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You could actually start seeing coloration. You could see some pigments coming out. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, a couple of weeks, you'll start seeing like, I mean, I noticed that a lot of people, they start off with a brown coral, but the first time that they actually see color, it's because the zooxanthella is like receding. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to migrate towards the base and gets away from the tips. I mean, that takes a matter of days actually for it to actually migrate. So yeah, when we already have the corals already colored up, pretty well, I want to say 80%, it's easy to modify it and see what is the continuation underneath this part with this light, what is the spectrum. We run a couple of spectrographs on them as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out, Daily Reefing. Jeff, thank you for the $5 super chat, buddy. Much appreciated. Great topic, very relevant to all of us. Yeah, someone was posting it and talking about it on the ReefDudes Facebook group, and then that's what kind of sparked it. And I was like, I've been there, and you start reading into lots of things. So I figured it'd just be a kind of a good one. I think pretty much everyone's been there at one point or another. So
yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Jeff. Much appreciated.
And when it hits, it hurts. Because you're like looking at everything that you spent money on.
Yes.
And you're like, holy crap. Especially kind of like what Jeff was saying, when things start just domino, like snowballing on you, it gets really, really overwhelming,
Yep.
Yeah. I can't say anything other than, you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been challenging. I mean, almost, gosh, 20 years goes by so fast.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I think I hit the walls, like, during big moves or, I don't know, relationship issues, especially that during those times.
Yep.
Because I mean, if you're in a fight, with a significant other, dude, you're not paying attention to your tank, and you're like, you know what, to hell with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the only thing that's keeping me here.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why it's good to have buying on the tank with a significant other. Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, yeah, it can be very, very challenging to get out of that rut sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, kind of like what Ash was saying, is sometimes you need to take a step back and,
Yep.
I mean, he downsized for that reason,
Mm-hmm.
and he's looking at going back up again, to
Yep.
750, and I'm like, oh. So it was the whole, it's basically like a dance.
Mm-hmm.
You take a couple of steps forward, you take a couple of steps back.
Just gotta
And you
find
try
that
to find
balance.
Yeah, you got to find for sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
being that he wants to spend a little bit more time with his family, do things around the house, not have to worry about so much, you know, somebody to come and babysit his tank.
Mm-hmm.
He wants something that's all inclusive,
Yep.
and it fits his lifestyle, and that's great.
Mm-hmm. Brandon in the chat,
Everybody, yeah.
it was like, "What's Iron Man's channel? I want to subscribe." Cruz, you don't have much on YouTube, do you, for video content?
No, not too much. It was
Yeah.
mainly just the bubbling.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that we have is on Elegant Coral's Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
on the Facebook page.
Okay. There you go, Brandon.
We're
Elegance
starting-
Corals.
yeah,
Facebook.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Elegant. Yeah,
Elegant, sorry.
with the T. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, not a problem. There's another page that's called Elegance Corals, and I was like, wow, that's like flattery right there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we're also going through a lot of the photos. We have like, I want to say thousands, if not a couple, close to 1 million pictures of different corals that we've grown.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing how some of them have actually changed over time.
Yeah.
As they've been in the hobby and been in an enclosed system.
Mhm.
With different things, different salts, different additives. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something new, different formulations. I think that's what keeps us interested, as well as not only just the reefing side of it, but also understanding, the more, as we get, as we prolong longer and longer in this hobby, we find out more. There's more scientific background. There's more stuff to read.
Yeah, this is true. And I find you get more into, like, I find I enjoy more the technical side and learning why things work now, rather than just happy that it worked for me.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean,
Zeon Zoop in the chat was saying he's just bridging in a salt from freshwater. I remember I had freshwater tanks, and then I got into planted tanks. Yeah, welcome to the salty side. Then it was planted tanks, then it was high-tech planted tanks, then it was saltwater, and then I started neglecting all my freshwater tanks after I got into saltwater, and then it became 100% saltwater, so it kind of stepping stones bridges you in there, and now like corals, the current, probably lifelong addiction of wanting new, different kind of crazy corals.
Absolutely.
Keeps me going. And I'm obsessed with milliporas. They're my favorite. I love the big hairy polyps. Love it.
They are so hairy.
Love it.
For me, it's euphilia.
Yeah.
Every time. It's like, damn it.
I need that one. I want it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you like the movement, and that's what's really, really entrancing. If you have your wave makers on pulse.
Yeah, you get the
euphilia just sways back and forth. That is so hypnotizing.
Yep,
I could stay there for hours just watching it.
I've always loved a mixed reef tank. I don't think I'd ever have just one or the other, because I like the blend of everything. But
absolutely. But once again, kind of like what we've talked about before, is having a mixed tank and knowing exactly what every single one of them needs. That gets hard.
Yep.
It does get a little bit challenging, because the window of tolerance by all of them is like
smaller to overlap everything, make them all happy.
Exactly.
I guess that's another aspect to make it a little more challenging, is trying to keep every coral in your tank happy and growing and thriving. Surviving and thriving are two very different things.
Yes. Thank you. Absolutely.
Yep.
Thriving's where it starts multiplying, it starts growing, coloration's good, it's always full out, it's always hungry.
Yep.
Surviving is it barely grows. The pale, the colors start fading out. You've had it for 6 to 8 months and nothing has changed. At that point, I would, I would reevaluate the situation. You know what I'm saying, Dev?
Now,
Just
on
basically reevaluate it.
Yep. One note on that though, I've also had corals that do absolutely nothing for ages, and then one day they just explode and they're happy. Like it takes it like 4 or 5 months until it's settled and likes life again.
I've had the same with an appleberry mantipora. Just nothing for a year. Nothing. Not even a millimeter. Oops, sorry. Nothing at all. And then over the past few weeks, boom, I've got like 4 or 5 millimeters. It's like, what the hell? Do you know what I mean? I had chili pepper manipura a year, no growth at all. And then in the space of a couple of months, it's grown like quadruple the size it was originally. It's like, what?
You know what we do at times like that? We write down everything that we could ever measure. You know what I'm saying, Michael? Like when you hit that sweet spot, you're like, what is that sweet spot?
Yeah.
And you write down all your parameters. You throw out your freaking ICP. You throw out your freaking water for an ICP test. You find out where all your levels are, what temperature you're running it at. And it's like, oh, okay, well, if I come close to that, next time I might have the same amount of success. Once again, it's observational. Observational science. And if you could repeat it, if you can't, then you have to look somewhere else.
So I have a
like,
question on that note. Whenever y'all get a chance.
Yeah, Jeeves.
So like Michael's talking about his chili. I know part of his thing is he's running his alk lower now. Somebody made a comment earlier that higher alk can burn SPS. Is that true or not?
Depends on your nutrient level, actually.
So you need more nutrients or less nutrients?
Well, we keep ours at around anywhere from 8.6 to 9.2 sometimes.
Okay.
But we feed heavy. So we have constant nitrates and phosphates, but we also have a very, very efficient refugium, with a lot of macroalgae, and it sucks out all that stuff. But the food particulates, because we do broadcast feed, does make it to the corals, does make it to the fish, and the fish poop and so on and so forth. So even though the water is low nutrient, they're constantly getting fed.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm just wondering if that's
so there's
why
always organics.
Those green birds nest and those green slimer I had were dying, because all of my parameters are spot on, but I run like between 9.5 alk is where I'm playing at.
Yep.
I've always shot for 8.5, just straight smack dab in the middle.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm at 8.4, so that's what I was trying to decide. Do I want to bring it back up to the low 9s, or do I want to leave it 8.5?
I figure 8.5, you got lots of buffer room on either direction if it does shift a bit, and it's not, if you're at the low end or the high end, like you're kind of riding the edge, and if something pushes it too high or too low, then you can have more issues, right? Or if you're in the middle, you got a bit of wiggle room either way. Nothing's going to be catastrophic if it pushes in either direction a bit.
The reason why we run a little bit higher is because of the coral load that we have.
Okay.
They do utilize up a lot. And, sometimes it's nice to have that cushion on the top side, and not be smack in the middle and not have that extra. Because, we could still go up to about 9.6, 9.8 and be relatively safe with the uptake. Does that make sense, Steph? Because we know that we have that uptake. If you don't have uptake and, something's off with your system and you're trying to push those levels, yeah, you do, and especially if you try to raise your alk too high, too fast, you will get that alk burn.
Yep.
So, yeah. When you're adjusting alk, all I have to say on that is go slow, go slow, find that happy spot.
Well, because I hadn't thought about that before, because I just figured it was lighting. My lights were too low, because the green slimer are STN, but the birds' nests were dead within a week and a half of getting them. So I'm wondering if it was too low lights was my first thought. But I mean, I do keep my alk a little higher because that's where my saltwater mixes up at with the Fritz. And I found, that's what I was telling somebody in Dev's chat earlier, like in my 75, when I let my alk drop down, I start getting the turf algae growing. If I keep it up around 9, that turf algae doesn't grow. So that's why I was keeping my nano, because that's where I've been trying to keep my 75, was up around the low 9s.
Are you sure it wasn't? It was the alkalinity and not the magnesium levels that actually kept the stuff out.
Pretty sure, because the magnesium stayed high when the alkalinity would drop.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's, I had read it, you know, like most things for me, because I'm still newer to this. I had read, you know, somebody said, you know, higher alkalinity keeps turf algae at bay. I said, let me try that, because it mixes up at 9.
Did it work?
Actually make it a point to keep it at 9.
Did it work?
You know, yeah, it worked. The hair algae ate it all, and it didn't regrow until now. I haven't dosed anything because all I have are some soft corals in that tank, and I haven't done a water change in a month and a half. You know, but nitrates are low, phosphates are low, but alkalinity dropped down to about 7 over, you know, the last 6 to 7 weeks, and I've started getting the turf algae growing again.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
And it's slowly starting to grow back and ramp up its growth.
Learn something new.
So that's I'm gonna bump. That's what I was on my 75. I'm working on bumping my alkalinity back up to that low 9s and running the phosphor.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to try that, Dev. I'm gonna have to try that, Jeeves.
I'm curious.
I'm just gonna get
I'm just gonna get a.
He's gonna hunt for turf algae. I will buy your turf algae.
Give me all your algae.
Yeah, because so that's kind of what I noticed, is that because I had it, I used the sea hair to get rid of it. It was fine. Alkalinity dropped. It started growing again. Bumped my alkalinity up. Got another sea hair. You know, sea hair ate everything. Returned him to the store. It's been fine. Now that my alkalinity has dropped, I'm getting the turf algae again.
Interesting correlation.
Great job.
Yep.
Great job.
Someone else was saying that when their mag drops, they see an increase in algae. Yeah, so higher mag is actually one way to kill certain algae.
Yep, and it's more of the magnesium sulfate than it is the magnesium chloride. So make sure that it does have the magnesium sulfate in there.
When I mix magnesium, I mix the two of them together into mine. So yeah, it's a good point though. If you're not just using like Epsom salt or something, and use the mix of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So where would you get the magnesium sulfate?
I just buy it from one of my LFSs, just in bulk, and then mix the two together.
Okay. Yep. So BRS would have it.
Yeah. Most of them. Yeah. I can't get it here. I have to order it.
Well, I don't buy mine locally. I buy it in Vancouver. There's a store there. Whenever I go down, I'll just buy a big jug when I'm almost out. I'm stocked up for a while.
I think me and you, Dev, should shame every Canadian supplier we can. You know, that's local. It's like, you know, walk into the local one. Yeah, just carry it. Do it.
I want this in bulk at a good price.
Bulk. And I'll say nice things about you.
Yeah, I know way.
Oh, he just went full Canadian. Did you hear it, eh?
It sneaks out once in a while.
I know it does. Does on me too. And the boots. You think we don't say it? We're like, we don't say a boot, and then there's like,
I don't know if I actually say that one. Do I? Have you noticed it?
I don't think so. I think it's the way we say about, and they hear a boot.
Maybe.
So it's like, okay.
I definitely say a once in a while. I don't think I say about.
Once in a while.
Once in a while. Yeah, we do that too.
Wow. That sounds to me. That sounds like down south. You know.
You do it pretty often.
Do I?
Not. You do it.
Oh, geez, here we go.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
That's why I said once in a while.
Yeah, it's
just
not
once
too
in a
bad
while.
though. It's okay. Would you do it?
That's fair.
I'm
I'm just
enough
curious.
To know you're Canadian. Let's put it that way.
That's fair.
Yeah, you definitely can know, right? We're polite. Like I said, we do Canadian kung fu. I'm sorry, eh?
Whack. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Sorry, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I can't believe that fried.
So,
Anyway,
yeah, I mean,
moving on.
yeah, the whole wall thing, yeah, you know, you just got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. You know, if you're really serious about the hobby or you're very, very passionate about it, it's you know, it is a trying time. You know, it's not always smooth sailing. I mean, regardless, you know, kind of like what Jeff said, regardless how long you've been in it, we all still make mistakes. You know, and I'll be the first to admit that I made a mistake. Julian would say the same thing too. You know, hey, we're not perfect. You know, we've been in the hobby for, you know, long enough to know, but yeah, every once in a while we do get complacent. You know, and it's like, oh, what happened? Why aren't the polyps out? I don't know. What did you change? I don't know. You know, and then we're like tearing through the notes, tearing through all the freaking notebooks, and we're like, you changed the freaking lighting. You changed the lighting schedule.
Well, that's one of the things too, right? When you get too comfortable, you get, to an extent, you get lazy. Like, in one aspect, yes, you can once your tank's mature enough, but on the flip side, you do get lazy and you can be slack on certain things, and it can fall off the wayside, right? You know, you go from testing weekly to every few months, and you know, eventually you're like, oh, a big issue happened, and I didn't catch that because I haven't tested in ages.
Hey, is it P-Babe that runs Aquaforce?
I think so.
I think so.
Zion was asking about the probiotic, and I know I don't run it. I think she's the only one that does.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of probiotics, a lot of bacterial mixes out there now.
Well, they have their
Protobio
probiotic
is always
salt.
the one that. Yeah. Protobio is one of the ones that I always go to. Go towards.
Who's that
Dr.
from?
Tim's. Protobio.
Yeah.
Good question. Protobio, I think.
Oh, is
they're
the
out
company?
of Europe.
Okay.
They're out of Europe. So there's a saltwater one, there's a freshwater one, there's a brackish water one, and I'm like, wow, okay. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them out there, you know, that I think are viable. You know, that I go to out of preference. Does that make sense? It's not whether or not one or the other works better. It's what I'm used to dosing, what I'm, you know, if it's the same mixture or the same bacterial colonies or the bacterial strain, I know how it should react. So, yeah, sometimes being in this hobby, you get lackadaisical on that too, because companies come and go. What if, you know, the next day that manufacturer no longer makes it, and you know he's pulling out of the hobby? He also hit that wall. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, oh, well, that means I have to change my reefing style again, or I have to get another salt because they no longer sell the salt that I'm used to.
Yeah.
So that's always exciting.
I'll eventually run out of bulk chemicals and have to swap to something else.
Exactly. And, you know, it comes to that point where you go, oh, but I'm like so used to doing it this one way. And I got comfortable with it that, you know, like, for instance, when Kent Marine changed, you know, they changed their formulation, changed owners, for that matter, you know, with Jack Kent. And all of a sudden, there was this huge, you know, uproar about, oh my God, you know, it used to freaking work, you know, when I bumped up my magnesium, you know, all my biopsis went away. Now it's, you know, now it's not going anywhere. So what do? We try to find different ways and other products that would also, how do you say, act similarly. And I think that that's where a lot of the newer bryopsis regimens like fluconazole and so on and so forth came out, was because of this need. I mean, the go-to regimen was dose a lot of freaking Kent Tech M and you're done. And then when that went to the wayside and it no longer was the same formulation, we started looking elsewhere for another solution. And I think that that's what helps us move along in this hobby a lot, you know, is when certain things are no longer available, solution. and we try to find those answers, say, utilizing the products that a lot of the manufacturers give us. Or you go off and you try to find it yourself.
Yep.
You know,
Pretty
and
much.
that's always costly, especially when it comes down to corals and, you know, upsetting the system, the delicate system.
So, okay, so on that note, I have my bulk calcium chloride and sodium bicarbonate that I use in my tank, and it's not the purest, it's not the cleanest. Like, I know I run it through my magnetic stir, and I know little particles stick to the magnet, and then I also run it through a little brine shrimp filter Sevi to just clear out any particles. So I know it's not 100% pure, because I do that to get rid of any of the little bits and stuff that don't dissolve. But the tank is happy and growing well, so I mean, at least my semi-ghetto-ish filtering method has worked to remove anything from it. But
Yep. What was your question?
You always use a coffee filter, Def.
Yeah, coffee filter work too. I have that little brine fish Sevi that I just, for whatever reason, that seems to be there and works. But yeah, coffee filter work too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you had a question, or you just.
I have no idea.
You were starting on a question. You said, "So I have all these."
Yeah, you were starting on the question.
I don't even remember.
Like a question.
I don't remember anymore. It's too far away.
And then you went to not the most pure.
Oh, sorry. I think it started because you're saying there's always like a bit of a risk or whatever when you're using your own chemicals and not prepackaged ones. And just kind of a fact that I know they're not 100% pure.
Or that you're not used to. Yeah, or that you're not used to what the mixture rate is, what the you know what I'm talking about, especially when you're making up your own chemicals.
Yep.
You know, you're like, well, how does this affect that chemical? You know, does it pull it down? Does anything flocculate? Does anything precipitate out? And I think that's where a lot of the regimens came out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the regimens that came out in the last 10 years, you know, it's like all of a sudden, you know, they're doing all these tests, you know, like, what can this regimen be mixed with? You know, or what can you utilize this regimen with another regimen? Question mark.
Yeah. Because
every regimen utilizes a slightly different chemical compound or chemical mixture. You know, for instance, you could mix something as harmless as potassium nitrate. You know, something as harmless as potassium nitrate and cause an upset in the system.
Yeah.
You know, or if you're running a little bit too much sulfates, you're going to experience a bacterial bloom that you can't control. And you're like, whoa, tank water's all cloudy.
Yeah, it's the cloud.
Yep. So, I don't know. There's lots of things. We've thought about making our own, but you know what? Once again, there's so many different regimens out there that we still use that we think, yeah, they could improve this, but you know, why am I going to reinvent something from, you know, why am I going to reinvent the wheel again?
Well, the other question too, like sometimes, is it worth it? You know?
Yeah.
No. Can you see the chat?
I mean, you take a look at the cost. The which one?
So no, I'm driving. Chat? Oh, you're driving. Yep. Okay.
What's being said?
Yeah,
DM wants to know if he can get a chunk of a certain coral. I saw that go by.
Oh, okay.
How big is that Fragajulium Rainbow SPS? Well, I get it if I order it. And Dr. Welsh has been asking about, because he's talking about Jack Kent coming out at his all guns a-blazing, so to speak.
Oh, yes. Being that the weather has improved dramatically, we are starting to ship out again. We've been waiting for this storm. This last winter was a little bit harsh on Chicagoans and also anybody north of us. So yeah, it's been going through a thaw, a warm up, and then right back to a cold snap and a freeze. So
all over the place.
You didn't want to take yep, it's been all over the place. Like today, it was all the way up to 68, and then the last 3 hours, it's come down to 50. So it's still a little bit oscillating. It's we can handle it. You know, so long as it's above 45 degrees, we're good.
Yeah.
Is Elegant in Chicago?
Yes.
I don't know why I keep thinking it's in California.
Because
I came
Cruz
from
is from California.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Just messing with you.
Yeah. You owe me a Coke?
Oh, yeah, you could. Well, that's okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
So since I have Cruz on here, because nobody had heard of it yesterday, there's a new coral that I had seen online yesterday. Let me find the name of it.
Okay.
Yes, tell me more.
Oh, crap.
The suspense.
Yep, that's it. You blew it.
Killing me.
No, keep talking. I've got
It's all over now. It's all gone. The coral disappeared. STN when you weren't looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the original topic of reefing walls, that was probably one of the biggest, hardest ones I've done, when just losing so many SPS at one point. Just having stuff just RTNing, just freaking gone. You just keep seeing them die off and turn white. That was depressing.
So should I tell a little truth about that first year and why I almost got out? I always say ick. It wasn't ick. I lost about 3 grand worth of corals.
Mm-hmm.
And it was lighting. Wow. It was a combination of events, right? And brown jelly, because I love euphilia. So I had all these euphilia, and of course I went to do my move, and when I picked them up, all the heads failed. Everything failed.
Oh, yikes.
And it was, and you know, when you're talking about a purple and orange frog spawn, so it was purple with the orange striations in them.
Cool.
Right, really hard to get a hold of. I haven't even seen them since. I'd grown them from 3 heads to 15, and all 15 bailed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a pile of, for like polyps and mush at the bottom, and I'm like, you price that out, and everyone's like, well, how can you do 3 grand? Do $40 a head at 15 heads. You know what I mean? Yeah, it wasn't hard to start racking up. Then I lost my gold metallics. I lost just, a bunch. And it was hard. It was, I'm throwing in, all the curse words, the F from one end of the house to the other. And,
and that's why, what my dad and what Lang always told me, and, a lot of these other reefers that I grew up with, is reef within your means, within your financial means. If you could, think of it as stocks. You know what I'm saying? You don't play with your mortgage money or your bill money or anything else like that, and try to gamble. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it gets to the point where I know we're all addicted to the corals. It's beautiful. It's freaking hypnotizing. It's it's everything that a wet dream can have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Literally a wet dream.
Yeah.
And we sometimes we forget about that, and our wallets are a little bit too loose, especially with these high end named corals.
Mm-hmm.
I try to. Our business model is to make sure that the person that's going to be buying it can actually afford it and can actually take care of it. Ask them what their water parameters are. How long have you been in the hobby? Can we see your tank? Yep, can we see your tank?
Do you actually do that? So if I want to buy a coral, you'd be like, so what are your parameters? May I see a photo of your tank, fine sir?
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, we like the one-on-one relationship with our customers, because we're not just, once again, we have a lot of nonprofits that we work with. You know what I'm saying, Doug?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Isn't really the focus of Elegant Corals. It's more, how do we help the other LFSs around us? How do we teach them?
Yeah.
How do they increase the reefing community at the local level?
Yep.
And once again, you asked me to buy Miracle Mud straight from me. And what did I say? I said,
go
no,
buy it locally.
Buy it from your LF.
Yeah.
Yep, buy it from your LFS.
No, that's good, and it's a great outlook. And I
don't like this. I mean,
I know like a lot of things, and I do agree. Like the LFSs really are kind of the lifeblood to an extent, right? If if no one's supporting the local stores, like the hobby is gonna die out eventually. Like less and less new people are gonna join it because
Absolutely.
why do you start the hobby? You're
That's
in a
why I don't
store,
really
you
order
see a beautiful
corals.
tank, you're like, I want that in my house.
Yeah.
So.
Correct.
That's why I don't really order corals and fish too much.
Yeah, I prefer that, and I also prefer I like to see things myself before I buy it. I mean, I have ordered online a few times, but like 90% of at least for anything live, I like to be able to see it, make sure it looks like it's, disease issue free. I don't know, I can see there's no obvious pests or issues, so
Make yourself responsible for the transport versus waiting for FedEx or the UPS guy to not throw it on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Cruz, it's a lithophilin, something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I would need to take a look at it.
It looks like a cross between a fungi plate and a chalice. So it looks like a fungi plate, but it has multiple eyes instead of one big polyp.
Oh, and they're like little tiny ones that are not quite hairy, but little bits of bumps to it?
No, it has little tentacles on it.
Lipotheria? What is it?
LITHOP.
Where is it from?
Worldwide Corals has a couple, but then I found one of the other websites had one. LITHOPHYLLON. Worldwide Corals has 3 or 4 different types.
That looks like the first photo looks on Google looks like a plate coral. Then some look like a weird chalice / plating Monty blend.
Yeah, that's just it. They look like a cross between a tentacle fungi plate and a chalice because it has multiple eyes and it has all little tentacles. But I was reading it's technically a mushroom.
Weird. That's messes with your mind.
It was a mushroom.
And
so
in
it's
the
like
genus
an LPS mushroom.
Yeah.
And in the genus Acropora.
I'm gonna call it Franken coral.
Apparently, they're a more uncommon coral.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
But I found a place that had a like 1-inch frag for a good price, and they look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they have a growth pattern that would fit into a spot in my tank.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to Lou about that.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yep.
Yeah,
interesting.
Absolutely.
Tidal Gardens has one that looks like a fungi plate with tentacles and multiple mouths.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it totally looks just like
That's
a plate.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
So DM wants to know if the frag he gets will be 1 inch or bigger. Like, is it going to be a little 1-inch frag or bigger?
We'll hook him up.
You'll hook him up. You heard that. You heard it here,
big
folks.
frags,
That's
big
legally
frags.
binding.
He's a local, so
Dev?
he
Yeah,
could actually swing by and pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Even better.
Were you going to say something to me?
Yeah.
No, I was just joking. I said big frags. I hate little 1-inch frags.
Okay. I'm sitting there going, it's your stream. I don't want to jump in, man.
I'm just joking.
No, when it comes down to shipping, the smaller the frags, the more that the water's going to be able. It's metabolism. When you start sending, bigger pieces, you have to really calculate how much water volume you're going to actually put in.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that Steve taught us. What is the minimum that would be able to sustain X amount of freaking hours.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you're local and you're actually driving a pickup, we're pretty generous. You know what I'm saying? We're pretty generous with it.
You're a bit of a drive cruise.
Oh, come on, Dev. Come on, Dev.
One day. Yeah, well, no big
Yeah.
deal. If I leave now, be there by morning,
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. I'll be at work.
Actually, 16 hours. That was a filthy lie.
Longer.
I bet you for either one of us, it's a couple of days.
Yeah, probably.
We're both on opposite coasts of this country, so you're right in the center.
We can meet in the middle.
Meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Be good.
Yep. No, I think the whole die-off thing really didn't faze me as a wall in the hobby, because at the beginning of the hobby, we were always killing stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying
I guess if you're going back like
15,
15-20 years ago, then
20,
keeping something
closer to
alive
20.
for a few months was like the goal.
Yeah, and so the disappointment really was never there because we were able to keep it a little bit longer than the next person
Mm-hmm.
or the guy who, I mean, I was there with Lang when we brought in, some of the, the maricultures and stuff like that, or the wild collected,
Mm-hmm.
and you know helped them unbox it, set them in the tanks and everything else.
Yeah. Nice.
So I mean, yeah. So having things die was a normal thing back then. You know what I downplay it, but it just seems like we didn't we didn't
How the
we didn't.
hobby has changed, eh?
Yeah, oh, it has, because now I see people like they kill a frag and we're like, yeah, okay, it happens,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, oh no, but I spent so much money on it. I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Yep.
And I've never had that feeling where oh yeah, I just invested so much
Mm-hmm.
that now it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand it, but at the same time I've never really experienced it other than, yeah, we brought a couple of these wild colonies in and we didn't know how to take care of them, so oops, they
Mm-hmm.
died. It was the name of the game, see how long you can keep it.
It's crazy how much things have changed, eh?
Hmm. It has a lot. I mean, just the technology around it,
Mm-hmm.
the understanding of it has gotten a lot better. But then there's still a lot of these old wives' tales. If you look at your coral wrong, it's going to fall off, or it's
Mm-hmm.
going to start STNing. You know,
I just smile
but
at mine and they're good.
you say, "How are you doing, eh?"
Yeah. Oh, you're looking mighty fine today. I like those
Yeah,
polyps.
yep, and they wiggle their little tentacles at you.
Exactly, right? We have a good relationship.
Oh, that's awesome. That
Uh,
is
Would you
awesome.
like a little
SpongeBob.
alkalinity?
yeah. Just a sip of alkalinity, please.
Mhm.
That's good.
But yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
no.
ahead.
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah. It's the hobby has changed drastically in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the knowledge, but once again there's a lot of information that people are still pulling up from the early 2000s, and
Mm-hmm.
they're holding it like a bible, and we're like, but it's changed, it's moved on since then.
Mm-hmm.
What we've claimed worked back then, well, there's some holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
you know and whenever somebody tries to disprove something that we said, it was like, okay, well, that article of for instance, gas bubble disease, that was written in 2001,
Yeah.
that that these larger bubbles have caused this embolism. And I'm like, well, back in the days they were also catching fish from the deep, and they weren't acclimating them, bringing them to the surface slowly.
Slowly. Yeah.
So they already had the embolism,
Mm-hmm.
or they already had torn up tissue on the insides, collapsed
Apparently, they
lung,
had never heard
collapsed.
of bins, huh?
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and
Mm-hmm.
it was. I mean, we know a lot more now than we've ever done, than we've had in the past. But we still see a lot of these old wives' tales, as we call them, or what we call fiction. We had to explain what's going on by trying to make sense of it,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it was published. And heaven forbid, everybody started saying, well, you said this before, or so and so said this before, and it must be true because he's still in the hobby. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we're all human, we're learning, we're constantly learning.
Mm-hmm.
um and there's going to be times when we say something, and then 6 months, a year down the road, we're going to say, hey, you know what, we were wrong. But
Mm-hmm.
how many people would watch the update,
Yeah,
or how many
exactly.
people would read the update? They've already said, oh well, red and blues only grow macroalgae really, really well. Well, there's also another shift in that, saying, well, you know
So
what,
does
we
white.
might have been wrong. Yeah, we might have been wrong, and white grows just as well.
I
But it has to be. Yep,
yeah.
exactly.
No, I
It has.
they all grow it, to be honest. Like, I've tried warm white, I've tried cool white, like on my chair reactor. I've changed multiple LEDs. They all grow it. I haven't noticed like a night and day difference in any of them. Like, maybe there's subtle differences, but nothing's been like a huge thing. They've all grown Chaeto. And then, you know, next I'm looking at trying that Kessel H380 just to see if there's any big difference, but I don't know.
Well, let us know. Let us know. Keep us updated.
Yep, it's coming.
Would love to see that video on it.
I just need a little more fish store credits before I can justify the light, so cool.
Bring some more Chaeto back.
Yeah, a lot of my big purchases are justified through trading credit. So we'll see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that H380 is going to be next on my overly priced splurge list. So we'll see.
Nice.
If I can buy it for like $100 or less and the rest credit, then I can justify it. But I can spend hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
I'll just live with my Walmart clip-on light and Philips LED.
All right. There you go. Hey, it works. It works too.
It does.
It will still grow it. It may not grow it as fast or as dense, but it will still grow it.
Grows it, exactly. Yeah. But I don't get me wrong. I want the Kessel 382. It's just like that's a little steep. Yeah.
This is why it's taking so long to build up credit.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
I have that little Aqua Gadget, whatever, Chaeto Max light for a nano tank.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have spent the money on it. The what?
The 3-water one or the 3 LED one?
No, the one that's got like 18 little LEDs. It's a strip. It's like a 3 by 9 inch strip.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it's like 18 watts.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't think it's enough. I'm about to electrical engineer some stuff and order the warm white LED chips. And so then I was thinking about building a case with that in the middle because I don't want to just throw it away and wire it in with the, maybe like 9 of the little bit more powerful warm white LEDs where I'd have the red and blue in the middle and then the warm whites on the outside.
Well, if you think about it, white actually has reds and blues and all those different colors in it already.
Right. I just like the fit and form on the little thing because it's, it's flat. It
low
Velcros
profile
on the back of the aquarium. If it was wider, because it's only half the width or a third of the width of that back chamber, and it was a little more power output. So if they made one that was 3 of those side by side, would be perfect. But I'm not going to spend. They're $60 a pop. I'm not spending $180 for 3 of them when I can, get 10-watt warm white LEDs for $3 a pop.
There you go. A little DIY for the win.
Yep, I'll do that after I get my cruise experiment running.
Nice. Excellent. The cruise experiment. Refrigerated bubbling.
Yep.
Interesting. That
should help.
Do you want to know this weekend's experiment?
What?
Which may be my Monday video. I'm looking at seeing if I can build a semi-self-sustaining phyto/pod culture.
Phytoculture?
That will like dose the tank, and then the tank will dose the culture. So
wouldn't you dose the phyto into the tank and into the copepod culture to feed them?
I'm gonna try doing it all in one.
Ooh.
That will be interesting. We'll see if it works. I have some ideas.
That's how you avoid hitting a wall in the hobby, huh?
I have some ideas. Yes, they could be separate, and yes, maybe Rev 2 will be, but Rev 1 is going to try all in one. And I'm also curious to see if there's enough nutrients from the tank water to feed the phyto, or if I'll have to dose like an F2 media on top of that. Ariel in the chat, how much time do you spend maintaining your tank daily? Like 2 minutes to feed it. That's what it. Not much. Literally feed it and clean the glass every other day or whatever. Just
maybe 5 minutes a day and a couple hours a week total, maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, my tank's a good 2 years old now. Up front in the first year, like it's definitely a lot more work, but now it's at the point where it can go pretty good. The cleanest glass just for the camera. Yes, I cleaned the glass before I put the camera there. Of course.
I think we all do, especially when we're going to be taking photos or videos of our tank.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
My
I
magnet
mean,
just
that's
lives
what,
in there permanently. It just
yeah,
gets anytime I notice any little spots, it's 30 seconds and it's
yeah.
done.
Because I noticed that, like in the freshwater planted hobby,
Mm-hmm.
is that we'd have these huge freaking circulation, like piping that goes into the tank. But then
Mm-hmm.
when we take, when we start taking pictures or a video of it, we take all the piping out. It makes it
Yeah.
look so peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And not clustered at all.
Yep.
So
No.
yeah, we've done that before too.
Exactly. To the questions out in the chat earlier, the Gargonian behind my head is like a purple Candelabra Gargonian, and then the triggerfish is a blue jaw or blue throat triggerfish. And he's been excellent, reef safe, zero issues with him.
Nice.
My only potential thing is my sexy shrimp disappeared, but I think that was with the bang guys. But
Probably.
no other issue. He's
According to Jeeves, it's definitely the Bengay.
yeah. So he
I hate those stupid fish.
bang guy cardinals.
Mine ate, I don't know, $80 worth of shrimp.
What'd
He
you
ate
have in
my
there?
Cleaners. He ate my peppermint shrimp.
Oh, I did lose my peppermint shrimp. Yeah, they might have ate that too.
A bangai
I
and
have
clownfish. That's what was in the tank.
I have fire shrimp, but they're monsters. They're big.
My cleaner, I had the skunk cleaner shrimp was fully grown.
Really? Huh.
And a pistol shrimp. So a skunk cleaner, a pistol shrimp, which the goby went suicide out the tank.
Yep.
The one night I had the top off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I never found the pistol shrimp again.
Oh no, that's no good.
And I know he's gone because I've had to transfer everything out of that tank into another tank and reseal it.
He's probably in a rock somewhere just hiding.
If he's in that rock, he is a good hider.
You would be surprised. I've seen little creatures hide in rocks and be in buckets out of water for extended periods and still be going. But
remember when I said about the guy who described pistol shrimp to me, like Doug Henning? It's magic, right?
Pistol shrimp. So skunk cleaner, fully grown, and I had, I don't know, 5 or 6 whatchamacallits?
Something.
Peppermint shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
Peppermint shrimp, because I had aptasia, and so I was trying to get rid of the few pieces of aptasia I had, which they did that job, but then they mysteriously started disappearing with a clownfish that never paid them any attention, and a banggai cardinal that liked to hover.
Fair enough. All right. Well,
then I found a picture of one with a shrimp in his mouth. Somebody had taken one.
Well, that might explain what happened to my peppermint shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
I figured the sexy shrimp would have happened at some point. I had 3, and over like 4 or 5 months, they just slowly disappeared. So that was the bang guys, I believe, anyways. But yeah, the trigger has been great. A lot of people asked, like, a trigger in a reef tank, blue jaw, throat, whatever one it is. Super peaceful. He's been great, like 0 issues. And they're probably one of the most reef safe triggers. So definitely recommend the blue throat. The male ones have nice yellow fins and they're great. With a 30-gallon display, 24 inches long, with 2 clowns, a purple firefish, and a 6-line wrasse, and a yellow watchman goby, be overstocking it for a 30-gallon? Yeah, I'd say you're pushing it.
You're at your limit.
Yeah, that's all. I wouldn't add any more than that.
Is there a sump on that? I guess it'd be a better question.
Yeah. 2 clowns, fine. Firefish, fine. 6 lines. 6 lines can grow pretty big eventually. Watchman, I'd say, is fine. The 6-line could potentially grow that down the road. So the rest are probably fine.
And go homicidal.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben, you're thinking of a harlequin shrimp, not a sexy shrimp?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of a harlequin. So I do have a harlequin that I lent to somebody many months ago, and I'm in no rush to get it back. But he's awesome. Harlequin shrimp are super cool. Those little starfish eaters.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's currently loaned out. I just keep loaning him out to people because I got some decorative and sound sifter starfish, so I'm in no rush. So I like to have one, but at the same time, I just let them eat there. Yeah, so harlequin shrimp, they only eat starfish. That is it. Nothing else. Sexy shrimp, they'll eat anything. They're just scavengers. They'll eat mysis or flakes or whatever they've scavenged on the tank. But yeah, as some of the comments said, leave the 6-line out. I would say, yeah, if you don't do the 6-line wrasse, just do the watchman and the clowns and do whatever else it was, then or the firefish, like that'd be a good amount. Yeah. I've never owned a 6-line, but lots of people always say they can be buggers.
They're D nuggets.
If you like the 6 line, look at a pink streak. That's going to be one fish I'm going to have to order because my LFS won't get it.
Really, eh?
He looks like a miniature 6 line, but they're not aggressive. They're only like 2.5 inches long.
What's it called?
A pink streaked wrasse.
I'm googling that.
I like my Lubbock.
2.5 inches. They kind of look like a 6 line. Not quite.
Well,
not
that's cool.
quite as bright colors.
They're peaceful.
But they're peaceful. They don't have the temperament like a 6 line can. Not that all 6 lines are buttheads, but they can have a poor temperament, whereas the pink streak doesn't. Just like a Tanaka's pygmy wrasse or a pygmy possum wrasse. Those are all in that same family as the pink streak. Possum wrasses that are pest eaters.
Good to know. Good to know.
I've done a lot of research because I'm looking at which one to get, and my LFS will not order any of them.
That's good to know, though. It's good to see you're doing your research. Yeah, lots of people are like 6 line, no. Pink streak, yeah, that's kind of cool. Good to know. I did not know about that one. Just a heads up, I am gonna shut her down pretty quick because I got lots of stuff I got to get done today, as life never ends.
Indeed.
If there's any questions or anything in the chat, let me know soon. I think we covered most of the reefing wall aspects of it, and you know, it's one of those things that I think most people hit at some point in time, and really it's every hobby. If you're in it long enough, you're gonna have a similar thing.
You can only crash your RC plane so many times before you're done, right?
There you go. It's one of those parallels that it's life. It happens. You know, certain other things take over time, and you know, things are too well, you get bored. You know, things are too difficult, you want to give up. It's one of those things. It's just being able to climb over past that hump.
Indeed.
Yep. All right, guys. I'm gonna have to run, but thank you for everyone that joined tonight. Some good chats as always.
Oh, nice to hang out. Hang out in your chat for a change.
Yeah, gotta mix it up.
Thanks, Steph.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Later, Dev.
Okay, have a great evening. Thank you.
You too, buddy.
All right, you guys too. All right, bye.